Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Tanya, and today I'm going to do a reaction for you. Today's video is a little bit different than what I normally react to, but if you are not new here, then you will know that I love Australia, and I love Australians, and I came across this video today that I thought might be kind of fun to react to. It's called Dirty-Ish Aussie Slang Words That Confused Me as an American. And I have a lot of Australians in my Discord, and I've learned a lot of their slang words from them, but I'm sure there's still plenty that I don't know. But yeah, I thought it would be interesting. I want to know if there's anything that I already know. I want to know if there's any of these words that maybe I say, but yeah, I thought it looked interesting. This is from a channel called Kinda Australian, and she has the same amount of subscribers as I do. I've never seen her before, so we're gonna go ahead and check this out. And there's an Australian in my Discord that also had put a suggestion for me to react to. There's a vlogger who is an American vlogger living in Australia. So I think I might check out her video also for a reaction. If you'd like to see that, let me know. Okay, here we go.
G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Caitlin. I'm an American writer living in beautiful Sydney, Australia. And there are some dirty Aussie words that really do confuse Americans. Some of them might not even be that dirty here in Australia, but in the States, oh boy. These can be dirty, filthy, sexy, offensive.
The C word for sure. That's the one I know for sure is extremely offensive in America. But I know that Aussies use it a lot. I think even Brits use it a lot, but Americans not so much. Not unless you really want to piss somebody off.
The list goes on, so let's dive into some dirty Aussie words that confused this American the first time I heard them. Grab a Bicky, grab a cuppa, and let's get right into this video.
So I know that that means breakfast and coffee, right? She said brekkie, right? Is that what she said? Maybe not.
Number one, and I'm not afraid to say the word, but I am going to have to censor it for YouTube because it doesn't like it. Number one is the C word. In the States, it is probably the most offensive thing that you can call a woman. And in all fairness, it's pretty offensive here in Australia too when you use it in that context. But other than the insult and the female body part, that word typically isn't used in the States. Here in Australia, while people don't go saying it every other word, it is a lot more common here, and it's typically...
If you're in my Discord, then yes, they do use it every other word. They do. And I also heard there's a difference between just saying the C word and calling someone a fucking C word. I did learn that.
In conjunction with some sort of descriptor, whether you're a mad C word, a funny C word, a sick C word, those are all actually compliments. But if somebody is just flat out calling you a straight up C word, that's clearly an insult. You kind of have to take the word in context to how it's being used and the situation that it's being used in. If you're fighting with somebody and they drop the C word, chances are it's not going to be a compliment. But when I first came over here, I was surprised to hear people actually use it and use it in multiple different contexts. Number two is root, which is very different compared to the States. Here in Australia, they're not going to...
I learned this one also in my Discord. It means having sex. You're rooting. You're having sex.
Root, root, root for the home team like you hear in that old school song, Take Me Out to the Ball Game. No, root here is a very crude, kind of bogan way of saying fuck. Like the crude actual action of fucking, not just fuck this, fuck that. So when you talk about Aussies rooting or having a root, they are not talking about cheering, they're talking about sex. So if they're good at it,
so I was actually educating the Australians also on the word root, because in America, rooting doesn't mean sex, but rooting does have multiple meanings. So like a baby can root. So we call it rooting. When a baby is rooting, they're when they're looking for their mom's nipple when they're nursing. That's called rooting. That's one of the other meanings here, but
might actually be cheering afterwards. Number 3 is rubber, and to Aussies this is completely innocent. To Americans, it is not. Rubber in the States, besides material, means condom. So when you're in Australia and there are little kids asking for a rubber, clearly that's not what they're talking about. A rubber in Australia is an eraser. So something that is completely innocent to Aussies confuses the hell out of Americans the first time they hear it, especially because it could be coming out of a little kid's mouth. Number 4 is pash, and I heard this a few times before I actually understood what it meant.
Okay, so this is a completely new one to me. I've never heard pash. I don't know what this one is.
Pash is just to make out, but the reason it's pash is like it's passionately making out, so shortening it to pash. I swear Aussie slang is just on another level. So if anybody is pashing, having a pash, it just means that they're making out kind of intense. Number 5, and this one gets Americans in trouble all over the world, not just in Australia, is fanny, which is also an unfortunate nickname for any woman named Francine. But fanny in Australia and the UK and I think a few other countries is actually a woman's vagina. So when a woman in the States is wearing a fanny pack, in Australia and other countries it's actually called a bum bag. You do not want to call it a fanny pack over here. You are going to get laughed at so much. Number 6 is...
But doesn't it make sense that it's called a fanny pack if you mean vagina? Because it's sitting right above your vagina. I feel like that makes sense. Randy. So I know this one too, because one of my best friends is British. And Randy in England means horny. And I'm assuming it also means that in Australia. So you will never find a person named Randy in the UK.
Is Randy. So if your name is Randy, I feel so bad for you if you come to Australia. Randy is a word that people will use to describe being aroused or turn on. You're getting randy. You're feeling randy. So you can see why if somebody is named Randy and they come over here to visit, Aussies are probably going to pick on them. So I feel so bad if anybody's named Randy and they decide to visit anywhere outside of the US. Because in the US, that word is just a name. And number 7 is crack on. Aussies probably know what that means. To Americans, it goes way over our heads. Crack on is something I'd heard a few times until I actually had it explained to me at some point. I thought cracking on was like, okay, maybe having a joke or making fun of somebody a little bit, which so makes sense because of how Aussies do crack on, which is flirting. Aussies are notorious for having that slightly dry, sarcastic sense of humor of taking the piss out of each other, of making fun of each other. So to my American ears, it does make sense that crack on would come across as picking on somebody, teasing somebody, joking with somebody, when in Australian, crack on actually means to flirt. So if you're out of the pub with...
I did not know that one. That's a new one to me. But I do know that in Ireland, I can't remember the context of how they use it. They take the crack, or they have a crack, but it's spelled like C-R-A-I-C, I think. But they're having a crack, like they're having a go at you. It's so cool learning all these different, like we all speak English, but every country has their own version of English. And I love learning this stuff. It's so fun to learn this stuff. I might be alone in that. I might be just this big fat dork who just wants to learn these things, but it's fun.
Somebody and some guy comes up to your friend and starts cracking on to them. They're not necessarily joking with them, although they probably are because they're trying to flirt with them. Number 8 is pissed. Typically in the States, pissed just means you're angry. Normally, like, you're really angry if you're pissed or you're pissed off. In Australia, pissed also means you're drunk. So if somebody in the pub is pissed,
that's a British thing too.
There's a small chance they could be angry, but most likely people mean that they're saying that they're drunk. Which is also why people say, like, I'm getting on the piss this weekend. Basically means I'm planning on drinking a lot this weekend.
I'm getting on the piss this weekend? Do they say that? I've never heard that one. But I feel like pissed, I feel like we all kind of know that one. Like, we're used to hearing Brits and Aussies say, I'm going to get pissed this weekend. And I even think there are Americans that use that word. for meaning drunk. So I don't think that one's really unusual. Thongs. Now thongs, I know that thongs in Australia mean flip-flops. However, I told my Discord people this too. When I was a child, my mom called flip-flops thongs. So there are Americans who call them thongs. And so I grew up using both terms interchangeably. I will say flip-flops and I will also say thongs. To me, it's an interchangeable word. But I would imagine that most Americans just think of the underwear. I don't know how many Americans actually use the word thong for a flip-flop. But yeah.
And number 9, I feel like you guys already knew that this one was going to make the list, and that is thongs. Yes, it confuses so many Americans when they hear Aussies talking about needing to grab a pair of thongs. Because in the States, we all know that thongs are called flip-flops, and thongs in the States are typically what you call G-strings here in Australia. And G-strings in the States are also G-strings in Australia. Which, when you think about it, given the structure of an actual thong, it does make sense because that little bit does go between your toes to keep everything together. It makes sense to call them thongs. But to Americans, it is going to take a little while to get used to hearing and eventually saying thongs. It's taken me well over 2 years. I can say it with no problem. I don't bat an eye with it. But when I'm talking to American friends and family back home, I try to make sure that I say flip-flops. So that's it for this video, you guys. A few kind of dirty-ish Aussie sayings and phrases that confused this American the first time I heard them. So are there any that you thought should have made this list, or any that you think I don't know? Let me know in the comments down below. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. I really do appreciate the support. I would love to get this channel to 15,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I can only do that with your help. So if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. I so greatly appreciate the support, you guys, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.
That was a cute video. I liked that. So same thing. If you can think of any other Australian slang terms that she missed, leave that in my comments too. I know I have a whole bunch of Australians that watch me, so go ahead and leave more. If you want to check out my Discord, the link is in the description and in the comments. It's completely free. And like I said, I have a lot of Australian viewers in my Discord, and I learn a lot from them. So we have a lot of fun. But yeah, I enjoyed this video. If you guys would like me to watch more videos like this and react to them, go ahead and let me know. But I do plan on doing that vlog that one of my Australian viewers suggested, where I think the one that he suggested was her going back home to the States after living in Australia for a while. I can't really remember. I'll have to check. But yeah. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed today's video, please give it a like, subscribe if you haven't done that yet, and I'll see you next time.